Hi, my name is Rod Khleif, and I'm the host of the Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing podcast. And every week I interview multifamily rock stars, and we talk about how they've built incredible wealth for themselves and their families through multifamily properties. So hit the like and subscribe buttons to get notified every Monday when a new episode comes out. Let's get to it. Welcome back to Multifamily Rockstars. So this is where we interview people that are crushing it, freaking crushing it in this business. We show you how to get the inside scoop on how multifamily investors are creating massive success in their businesses for themselves, their team, their families. And always I've got my co-host, who's also the director of my Massive Action team for my Warrior Mentorship program, on the call. Mark, what's going on, brother? Mark Nagy.
Hey, Rod, not too much. Doing really well. I'll tell you just real quick, I've been getting so much good feedback from, new students coming into the group for this particular podcast that they're learning a lot. It's getting them really inspired and motivated. And so I love being a part of this.
Awesome. So very excited to introduce the gentleman we're interviewing today. His name's Brian Kochendorfer, and he's the managing member of ARC Equity Group, and he's based out of Chicago. And since he's been a Warrior, he's a GP in 334 units. He's also an LP in 650 units, like total value over 70 million. Now, Brian started as a commercial real estate broker, and he's been involved in just under $1 billion in real estate transactions, mostly multifamily. So very excited to have you on the show, brother. Let's have some fun today.
Thanks, Rod. Looking forward to the chat.
Awesome. So why don't you take us and start with your story, my friend. Tell a little bit about how this all came about. You started out as a commercial broker, at least as it related to real estate, but just give us some background.
Yeah, so I got in the real estate space back in 2007, and I had been working at a commercial insurance company for the prior 4 years. I hated that job, and I remember reading somewhere that as you go through your career, you're either building someone else's dream or building your own. And I really just wanted to work for myself and be in a more entrepreneurial type role. So I went into real estate brokerage in mid 2007. I thought it'd be a great way to learn about real estate. I always had an interest in investing, and I wanted to parlay that experience with ultimately investing. Now, as you know, the crash of 2008 happened shortly after I started. So instead of making a bunch of money like I thought I would those first couple of years, my first 2 years, I made $19,000 and $20,000 in brokerage. I was waiting tables on nights and weekends just to pay the bills. But I saw the path. I saw a lot of people that were doing really well prior to that do things wrong, and they left the industry. So I just knew if I stuck with it, I would ultimately have success. And I stuck with it, shifted to multifamily in 2010. I've been focused on multifamily since then. I was a broker for about 10 years, just focused on multifamily. And in the last 3-4 years, started investing passively, including a deal with you guys, and also started acquiring on my own as a general partner about 2 years ago.
Wow. That's interesting because I can feel some parallels between your story and mine in a way, but the fact that you struggled those first couple of years made you tougher, honestly. And I think it's a gift. I don't know if you feel the same way, but I think when you struggle like that, it's a gift. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Those were the years that really kind of shaped my career going forward.
Yeah. So, go ahead, Mark. Go ahead and pop in.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously you've got a lot of experience in the industry for a long period of time, but if you had to go back and start over with none of that knowledge, none of the experience from the brokerage or anything, how do you think you'd get started in multifamily?
I would try to start learning more about the investment side a little bit earlier on. And there's, especially today, there's so much more out there today. There's these kinds of groups, there's Facebook groups, there's online meetups. There's so much education out there today. There's so many opportunities to get linked up with a group or a mentor or a coach or some kind of structure to really help you accelerate that learning curve. And what I learned the hard way over 5 years, I feel like could have been accelerated in 1 year under the right circumstances. So I think I would take advantage of the online knowledge today that you have. Just really network with people and just focus on learning as much as you can. Yeah,
that's good. Yeah, so how have you, just as an aside, how have you created reach to raise equity for your deals? I know one of your partners is another Warrior, Mandy, a really great friend of mine. I know she's got a meetup. Is that worked for you, or what have you done to create reach?
Yeah. So, Mandy and I actually co-host a meetup now. We've been doing it for the last 6 or 8 months. So we've been co-hosting a meetup in Chicago. That's been one effective way. Over the years in brokerage, I've built a lot of relationships with various clients. So what I started doing when I wanted to shift into the investment side, I started telling a lot of my clients what I was looking to do. Hey, I want to buy properties outside of the markets that I'm working in as a broker, and just hear their experience. And through those networks and relationships, was able to raise money and form partnerships in that way. I've heard you say, Rod, 100 times, if somebody is sitting still long enough, they should know what you do. So I always wanted to just let people know what I was looking to do and just continue to, leverage the relationships I'd already built throughout the brokerage career.
Love it. Love it. So take us through your first GP deal. Where is it? How'd you fund it? How'd you raise the equity? Was it a syndication, your first deal?
It was a joint venture partnership.
Joint venture. Okay.
Yep. So it was in Northwest Indiana, a small town called Chesterton. It was a 100-unit property, and we had been working with various brokers over the prior 6 to 8 months, letting them know that we were looking to acquire properties. So started looking around, getting some broker leads. A particular broker called us up on this one a couple of weeks before it came to market. We actually knew who the sellers were through our brokerage business. So we kind of had a little bit of credibility built in from the get-go. Nice. And we ended up getting the property shortly after it went on the market and went through the whole process. As we were going to go out and raise the equity for it, it was a 100-unit property, about an $8.5 million purchase price with $1 million renovation. So we needed to raise about $2.5 million. I started first with my brokerage clients and came across somebody who I've become friends with over the years. He loved the area. His family had other properties in the area, and he actually wanted to bring in most of the equity and didn't want to syndicate it. So we ended up just forming a joint venture partnership and taking it down just with a couple of us.
Guys, I hope you got that memo. This is so relationship driven, and there's a lot of money on the sidelines looking for deals. And so, now the key with a joint venture, and I just trained this today in a masterclass that I did on finding money. The key with a joint venture is all of the people have to be active. If you take money from somebody and they're not active, you've got to syndicate. But obviously, this partner of yours is, seasoned, and he's involved in this deal. Yep. Okay, go ahead, Mark.
Awesome. Well, yeah, your experience from what I read is in acquisitions and operations, right? What do you think is the biggest reason that people fail in those areas and don't do well?
With the acquisition side, I would say follow up. When you're trying to reach out to brokers, you can't just reach out to a broker one time, give them a call, and then expect to be on their short list of 5 people for the best off-market deal. You have to build that relationship over time. You have to follow up, even if you don't have interest in the property. You got to give them some feedback. Go on property tours. Brokers love property tours because it helps them shape their response to the property owner when it comes to, trying to get a property under contract and accept a certain purchase price.
Okay, I want to stop you. Guys, I want you to really hear what he just said, okay? So you want to build that relationship, let them show you properties, because if the seller knows that the broker is showing their property, it makes them look good. Thank you. That hasn't been said on the show, and it's so critical. And you're bringing your own broker experience to this conversation. So I'm sorry to interrupt, but that was such an important point. I wanted to put an exclamation mark on it. Please continue.
No, absolutely. And it's also a great time to build your relationship with the broker, because when you're doing a property tour, it's going to be 20, 30, 40 minutes. So that's better than just going and meeting him for coffee, him or her for coffee. Go do a property tour with them. Then you're talking about a property, you're getting to know them. You can talk a little bit more. Then when you see them the next time, it's a lot more of a casual relationship. So I would just say lack of follow-up is something that, if I've gotten so many calls over the years as a broker where someone called and says, hey, put me on your list, I'm looking to buy. I'll send them 3-4 things, no response, no follow-up, they don't tour. Well, of course, they're not on my short list when, I do have a really great deal. So
yeah, and I'd like to elaborate on this a little more too, because you have such a unique perspective being a broker for so long. So, I tell people in my boot camp, don't be a freaking black hole. If a broker sends you something, you always respond, even if it's to say, no, this deal doesn't meet our parameters. And then ideally, and I don't know, you correct me if I'm wrong here, Brian, but, tell them why. Tell them, when we normalized and we did the math, our cash on cash numbers were way low, we'd have to pay X to make this thing work. And we know we're not going to get it for that. Would you agree with what I just said?
Yeah, absolutely. Tell them why, because if you're looking for cash on cash returns and they have a heavy value add, then they're going to know the next time that if they do come across something with great cash on cash, you're going to be on their short list, especially if you're top of mind with them. So it's always important to just follow up by phone call, text, email. It doesn't take long. I know people who have VAs who just respond to brokers' emails, and it makes the broker feel great. And the broker can, again, share that feedback with the seller, which helps them do their job.
Makes them look better. Okay.
Exactly.
Their business is to have more deals and look good to their clients. And if you're helping them accomplish that, it's a win-win-win all the way down. Okay.
Would you guys say that's just as important when you're doing direct to seller as well? Do you think that's just as important?
It is, because you're building that relationship with the seller, just like you are with the broker over time. And it could be a numbers game in some cases, but unless you get lucky, you're not going to call the owner of an 80-unit property one time and put a deal together. You're going to build that relationship over time, just like anything else. What you want to do is have all the pieces in place when the seller does decide they want to sell, you're at top of mind. That's what you want. You just want to be in the conversation.
So talk for a minute about the fact, bring the broker's perspective to direct to seller activity, because correct me if I'm wrong, you're basically cold calling sellers, you're mailing sellers. Speak to that a little bit and how an investor might utilize some of those strategies.
Yeah. So when I was full-time in brokerage, all we would do is prospect to potential sellers. An exclusive listing is, the gold mine in multifamily brokerage. So what we're doing, we're sending postcards, we're sending letters, we're sending flyers, we're following up on the phone every 60 to 90 days at most. I'm making sure that every potential seller in my market is getting touched by us at least 5 to 6 times a year. They don't go 2 months without hearing or seeing something from us. Because again, they might call you, if you call them today, they might say, hey, I have no interest in buying or selling, but something shifts in their life in 4 to 6 months. Well, they're going to remember who's been calling me. Hey, I need to sell my property now. Who should I reach out to? Whoever's top of mind is going to be the one to get that phone call. So it's same thing with direct to seller. You got to be consistent. You can't do one mailer or one letter and expect to get all of these leads. It's not going to happen.
Yep.
Persistence is key. Absolutely. Totally agree with all that. Brian, tell us about some bad advice that you've received along the way in your journey here.
Well, I don't know if I've received any really bad advice per se. I think people have different ways about going about getting business. I know some people, like to say, especially if you're out of state, oh, just make a bunch of offers and then figure it out later. I don't really like that perspective because, well, for one, as a broker, I've never closed a deal from an out of state buyer who hasn't toured the property. It's never happened, even with all the offers that we get. And I also think that it hurts your credibility when you just throw out a bunch of offers and then come back and have to retrade or renegotiate the price based on something that you didn't know because you didn't tour the property. So I think it's perfectly acceptable to make offers on properties if you haven't seen them personally, but especially in a group like the Warrior Group, there are so many people at all parts of the country where just post something on Facebook. Hey, I'm looking at this property in Arizona. Is there anybody boots on the ground that can go check it out for me? Just have that, in-person meeting. It doesn't have to be you personally, but there are so many resources out there today where you can have that done for you.
Nice. So talk about, something, maybe a recent project or experience that you had that, or tool that you've come across that's helped you to be better, faster, smarter, more efficient, more effective. Anything come to mind with that question?
Yeah, I'm starting to explore using virtual assistants a little bit more in my business. And it's something that I haven't done a lot of historically, but in the last year I've experimented with a couple of things. And, as a broker, I built a big database in Chicago for that business. I'm building databases in other Midwest cities. So I'm really leveraging virtual assistants to help with that database building. And I'm really seeing how much they can help. And for how little they can do it for. You can get a great virtual assistant for anywhere from $4 to $7 per hour to do some of this very, very time-consuming work that I would otherwise be spending all my nights and weekends doing for weeks.
Talk about some of the tasks that you might have them do. This is an area that I enjoy talking about. Just drill down a little bit on
yeah, so they could do property research, skip tracing. So you can give them a list of properties and LLCs They can go crack the LLCs, look up the phone numbers, find out the mortgage information. You can sort your list by when mortgages expire or when their loans expire. So they can also do basic financial reporting. You can send them the monthly financial reports from your property manager, and they can put it together in your Excel form. They could do investor reports. There's no limit to things they can do. And if you want to pay a little bit more, $10, $11, $12 an hour, you can get somebody with the equivalent of a master's degree here to do these things for you. So
it's
I'm just
astounding.
going down this rabbit hole now.
No, it's astounding. I will tell you, I talk about this. I had I had 8 virtual assistants at one time, and 6 of them I was paying $1.93 each. They spoke English. They were happy to get it, worked 40 hours a week. And I was using them to do what you just said, break down the entities that owned mobile home parks. I did every mobile home park in the country. I thought I was going to get into that asset class. I didn't, but they worked for a year for me. It's the only reason I had so many. But, I would tell you, I had a couple that were $4 and $5 an hour, and they spoke English as well as someone in the Midwest would speak English. I mean, it was crazy how well they spoke. But I want to circle back to something you just said. You talked about have them search loan expiration dates. Guys, do you think it would make sense to approach an owner 6 months to 8 months before they have a loan coming due to see if they want to sell? The answer is yes. Nod. The answer is definitely yes. So I love that. That's another great tip, Brian. So
Even
let me ask you.
2 or 3 years out, you can start that marketing process now.
Right. Yeah, earlier is probably better because people will start looking at how to refi and or move it much earlier than the time frame I gave. Thank you. Now, Mark, I'm just going to steal the thunder here for a second more. What is your why? What's your driver, brother? Is it family? What is it that makes you work as hard as you do? Because you've been such a huge success. You've kicked ass in the Warrior program. I'm so impressed with you, man.
Yeah, thank you. I would say my why shifted a little bit the last few years. When I first started out, like I said, I really wanted to build something of my own and not just work for somebody else. I didn't just want the ordinary 9-to-5 life. I had that for a few years. I absolutely hated it. So I was always focused on just building something for myself. Mm-hmm. As I started building out my team in brokerage, I started on my own, built up a team with 6 people, trained other people, saw them have success. I got so much satisfaction out of watching other people around me grow and succeed that I really kind of shifted my why towards every time I close a deal, I try to help somebody else in some kind of way as well, whether it's some kind of donation or, some kind of contribution to a mastermind or go on a podcast, whatever. There's so many different ways to help people. And there's a lot of people out there that just want a little bit of guidance, but they're afraid to ask. And in these kinds of scenarios, don't be afraid to ask for help, guys.
I'm sure you're really enjoying your meetup in that regard as well, right? I mean,
it's great.
Not only you're creating reach, but you're adding value. You're helping people. You're helping them along. And you couldn't have a better partner, in my opinion, than your friend Mandy. I didn't know you were co-hosting that with her. That's awesome. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah. No, Mandy's great, and that's been one of the. We had kind of known of each other prior to meeting in the group, but we got to know each other really well in the group, and
Right.
Some of the friends that I've made over the last couple of years, or year and a half since I've been in there, it's just been awesome.
Yeah. And by the way, guys, if you're interested in applying for our Warrior Mentorship Program, there's just text the word CRUSH to 72345 and we'll get you on our calendar and we'll chat soon and basically give you an opportunity to look us over and give us an opportunity to look you over. But text CRUSH to 72345 and So what's next, brother? What's next?
Well, now I just finished the book this week, Who Not How by Dan Sullivan.
Oh,
I'm
nice.
Not sure if you guys have heard about it, but
he's a great author. He's a great coach and mentor.
Yeah, and it's a great book, and it's really about leveraging the people around you to try to scale your business. So, we have 300 or a little bit more units. Mm-hmm. I'm not as focused on number of units as I am just cash flow. I'm looking to build additional cash flow, and in finding the various ways you can do that, I'm really looking to build a team of people around me who can help me do that and who I can help in other ways as well. Mm. So really trying to scale down on the systems and processes that can help us scale up over the next couple of years.
Love it. There's, so many new tools and everything to utilize for that as well. We're using Asana for the project management and Slack for the interoffice communications. There's a lot of digital resources that you can bring into play as well. But
yeah, so on that topic, I'm curious because I actually get this question asked a lot. Everybody has different strategies, but in your opinion, for somebody getting started, what do you think they should focus on more? Going after cash flow or going after more units and then maybe cash flow later on down the road?
It depends on what your goals are, because if you get into a syndication deal, even if you're a smaller part of the general partnership on it, those units are experience and it's credibility with other investors. So if your goal is to really raise money with other investors, then you probably want to go the route of, trying to partner up with other people to get in on GPs of syndications. You can scale up your number of units quicker and you can leverage that scale, even if it's not as much cash flow up front, but you can leverage that scale to really raise additional capital, because that's how capital raisers end up getting compensated.
You get credibility. Yeah, you get credibility, not just with potential investors, with brokers, with other people in your sphere. You're taken more seriously, and that's why in our program we tell people, and so many warriors do deals together, like you and Mandy, is because well, maybe not in your case specifically, but they'll align with somebody that's got a few hundred doors. And then they approach a broker and say, we have a few hundred doors instead of I have nothing and I'm just getting started. And, and they utilize that person as a sponsor for the first deal or two and get them on their resume, or come in as an LP and just limited partnership and get that credibility that way. But the more units you can say you have, the more seriously you're taken with the people that you need to be taken seriously with. Some of it's a little fake it till you make it, but great answer actually for that question. That's a great answer.
You brought up a great point. When you're talking to brokers, find somebody to just partner with, even if you don't own any units yet. Leverage their units that they've owned and say, hey, it's instant credibility with people. Brokers don't care. It doesn't take much to get them to put you on your distribution list. They're not going to ask for addresses. So yeah, absolutely leverage that, leverage partnerships. And if capital raising is the route you want to go, then getting in on general partnerships is a great way to do it.
Yeah, love it.
Anything else, Mark? Clarify. Yeah, just to clarify for the listeners, I think what you're saying there is, if you're getting started and you want to create something big, go after units first, but not because of the money, but because of the experience that will allow you to scale bigger down the road.
And the credibility. And the credibility. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. And I started by passively investing. And because when you passively invest, you get some cash flow right away. You get incredible tax benefits for the most part. And you can also see how other operators function and how they do things. And you can see their financial reports. Yep. So you can also start off by passively investing, build up some cash flow while you're going the route of syndication.
Yep.
Beautiful. Love it. Love it. Well, look, Brian, I'll hit you with one more before we end this out. What do you think is one characteristic that every single multifamily investor out there should have?
Or aspiring multifamily.
There you go, even better.
Yeah, the grit. Yeah, it's the grit. It's the burning desire. It's not. You're not going to be able to go home 5 o'clock, have dinner, and watch TV all night and be successful. This business isn't rocket science, but it's a lot of hard work, common sense, and relationships. So
it's resolve. It's determination. Yep. It's, not giving up 3 feet from the gold. It's all of that. Love it, brother. Well, it's great to see you, my friend, and say hi to your partner when you see her. And
will do.
And thank you so much for being on the show, Mark. Great to see you, buddy. And we'll catch up. Hopefully we'll have a Warrior event soon. We haven't been able to have live ones. They've been, our Warrior only events have been virtual, but we're definitely going to have one this year, no matter what. And so we can all get together. Anyway, good to see you, Brian. Thank you, my friend. Mark, see you later.
Rod, I know a lot of our listeners are wanting to take their multifamily investing business to the next level. Now, I know you've been hard at work helping our Warrior students do just that using our ACT methodology, which is awareness, close, and transform. Can you explain to the listeners how they can get our help?
You bet. Guys, we've been going nonstop for 3 years, building an amazing community of like-minded people. And our coaching students, which we call our Warriors, have had extraordinary results. They've purchased thousands and thousands of units. And last year we did over 1,000 units with our students. And we're looking to grow this group and take it to the next level. We're looking for people who want to follow a proven framework that's really step by step, and then leverage our systems and network to raise equity, to find and close deals, and to build partnerships nationwide. Now, our warrior community is finding success in any market cycle. So if you're interested in finding out more about how you can become more of our incredible network and take advantage of the incredible opportunities that are coming very soon, apply to work with us at mentorwithrod.com or text CRUSH to 41411. That's mentorwithrod.com or text CRUSH to 41411.